Hey folks, welcome to Gaming Garbage. So here I'm going to chat about an update with Jedi Survivor as it just launched, right? And, first we talked about some of the issues with the physical copy, about how it's not all of the game files are on the disc. It looks like about a third of them are. My buddy sent me a picture that picked it up yesterday, and he had like 105 gigabyte, day one patch, which is pretty big. But that's about a third of the game, and Blu-rays at their optimal level for storage space can only have about 50 gigs. So if you have any game that's bigger than 50 gigs and there's only one disc, then you don't have the full game. So the only game that's done that recently that I know of is Elden Ring. They had PlayStation 5 at 45 gigs and Xbox Series X at 49 gigs. So it is possible, and the game can still look beautiful and run great. But I really think full physical copies are just disappearing, and are pretty much gone at this point, which is sad. But we're talking about the launch of Jedi Survivor. So the good thing, I've watched multiple videos, different reviews, talking about the good, bad, and the fugly. And we're seeing that everything that we enjoyed about Fallen Order is pretty much expounded upon in Survivor. The gameplay is fun. The laser sword fighting is a blast. It's pretty enjoyable. There's more enemies this time. There's about the same level of skill tree, but there's more customization. The worlds are larger. And so, yeah, it will probably take longer to finish the game. There are some new characters. There are some older characters. There is also a book you can read called Battle Scars that actually merges the story between Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. So that's kind of cool. The bad news is performance issues and glitches in the game. So far, PC has been the worst, Xbox has been in the middle, and PlayStation 5 has been the best. PC is rated at like a 35, 40 out of 100 right now on Steam, which is really bad. They're experiencing the most issues, of course. And then Xbox is rated right now at a 4 out of 5. With about 300 reviews. PC had 1,100. And then PlayStation, I'm not sure. I don't know what the current rate is on that. But let's dig into the issues. So, one of the biggest... excuse me. I'll have to take some sips of water while I'm going. Some of the biggest issues are a frame rate. So, the 60 frames basically doesn't exist at all. Doesn't matter what platform. And even 30 is pretty difficult to maintain. The beginning of the game works really well. The first little planet that you're on to start off is great and wonderful. There's a few frame issues. There's really not a lot of glitches. Things run really well. But when you get 2-3 hours into the game, you go to a different planet, and that's when the issues really start showing up. So again, you have issues with frame rate. Some people running tests have seen all the drops all the way down to 20 or 21 frames per second, which is pretty low for these current consoles. PC folks are complaining that they can't keep it at 40 or keep it at 30, but they're having bigger issues, which I'll get into that in just a minute. So the consoles are still definitely having frame rate problems, even on performance mode to make sure frame rates is considered first. They're still having those issues with pretty low frame rates. So again, we got another game that is designed in a way to kind of focus on resolution and 4K, and a lot of textures drawing out in the distance and that kind of thing. And I really don't think we're going to see most games at solid 60 frames per second. I do think it's possible if they design it right. But yeah, we're just not really seeing that. And I don't think we'll see that for quite some time. Probably until the next generation of consoles, to be honest. Companies are just going to continue to push resolution, and frame rate has always been the last thing they've really considered, and I think it's going to continue to be that way. Another issue is cutscenes. So the audio is bad or off or stutters, jerky. Cutscenes don't necessarily run very well at all. And again, at the beginning of the game, they run pretty good. But once you start getting into, other planets, it's more of an issue. There's also problems, too, with crashes for some people. There's other problems with other glitches in animation. And, other than that, it's not really too bad. But yeah, the frame rate is the biggest issue. So if you're one of those frame rate fanboys and you just gotta have it at 60, you're not gonna be happy at all. And then the cutscenes. From what I was seeing, even on PlayStation 5, some of the cutscenes were pretty bad. And with a AAA title that had a huge budget, it shouldn't look like that. And especially when we had a delay already of I think 6 weeks. It's not necessarily supposed to look like that. But that's what we get. EA2 put out a statement saying that they knew that they would have weeks of patches and fixing glitches and trying to repair issues with the game. And so they put that out like a couple days beforehand. So EA already knew they were pushing a game that was really not ready, especially for the PC port. Man, the stuff I was seeing on that is just really bad. Some people can't even get past the loading screen or the start menu. Like, they are just stuck and it's frozen, and they can't get it past that to save their life. Even people that have PCs that are in the $4,000 to $6,000 range, giving all their stats, all their hardware and software, and they still can't even get the game to run at 30 frames per second. I mean, we're talking way top-of-the-line PCs, and it's just not working, and their crashes are worse, their cutscenes are worse, the audio's worse, things not being able to load. That was something, too, a little bit, is that in some areas past the first planet, things and textures kind of like pop in, or don't really load properly, or they'll kind of load at like a lower resolution, which isn't the same resolution as everything else around it. So it's kind of noticeable, and there's kind of glitches like that. So anyway, that's all I got for you today. A lot of the PC folks are saying to wait. A lot of the people that are hardcore frames per second folks are saying to wait. They know that there's also already been a patch, technically, to fix some of these issues with the day one patch, so you could get the rest of the game. But there's been a problem too with a lot of the reviewers that had the embargo lifted and started talking about how the game was, where they weren't really focused or chatting about the issues in the game and how things weren't ready. The game isn't completely, refined like it should be. And just releasing it in that state is just kind of a bummer. And it is normal, I do agree with that, but I don't think it should be either. I think games should be ready, and they're ready when they're ready. But that's kind of not really the focus. It's just, hey, we need to get this out on this release date, and we've had COVID and lockdowns, supply issues, and now we're like looking into recession, and have been already. We've had inflation. So these companies are all trying to just like making money right now is the bottom line to probably keep the company alive, and the layoffs are just getting more and more and more, which is pretty insane. So, but anyway, that's all I got for you today. It's up to you guys on what you want to do, or how, or what version you want to buy. And I suggest, take some time to look at some of the videos too, and kind of what people are experiencing across different platforms. Sorry, my controller died there for a minute. So as I was saying, I suggest you take some time to look at all of those, all three consoles, and just kind of see what people are saying on YouTube, so you can kind of get an idea of whether you want to wait for, a month or a couple months, or if you just want to go out and buy it now. And I really think that people that are super into the franchise and Star Wars, they're going to buy it now anyway, and that's totally okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But for those of you that would be disappointed in the state that it's been released in and would have rather waited for a cheaper price tag, you guys are the ones I'm talking to. So hopefully that was helpful. Again, there's plenty of other stuff out there that's got visuals and stuff of the gameplay and the issues, and I suggest you go watch those. But yeah, that's got all I got for today. So go ahead and like and follow and all that jazz, and I'll see you on the next one.